my Hall of Fame wide receiver at the end of the set. Here on the day that Antonio Brown is celebrating a big, fat new contract with guaranteed dollars at the place he wanted to go, he got out in a way that few players outside of the NBA can. Michael Irvin here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Irv?
Man, Rich, I'm doing well, man. Not as good as Antonio Brown,
right?
But I'm doing okay.
Well, it's really remarkable, right? How it all worked out for Antonio. I'd give you the floor. Are you surprised at how it all worked out for Brown?
We are witnessing this new thing here with what players are doing, and I guess you could call it representing their own power. I am surprised at how well it all worked out. I mean, listen, how it will work out remains to be seen. I mean, Pittsburgh is a much better football team than Oakland is, even without Antonio Brown, and with Antonio Brown being Oakland, I call them Oakland, being with the Raiders, they'll be Las Vegas Raiders. But truth be known, the way he orchestrated all of this, the way it all worked out in his favor, it's absolutely incredible. Especially, I'm from the old school where when a team had your rights, they had your rights. You know, there was no social media. So even when you held out or had a fallout with the team, the only person's voice got heard was basically the team's voice, because nobody really interviewed you or put you on TV all the time. But social media has changed that, and he just kept barking and barking until they got him out.
Well, what do you say to people who think that is sending a bad signal, Irv?
Well, it's business. It's the business of business. First of all, let's be real here with how it transpired. I mean, think about it early on when we were talking about it this season on the show when Ben Roethlisberger would call out Antonio Brown, and he would come in and he would try to do the company thing. He said, "Hey, I have big shoulders. I can take it. We all looked at each other like, I don't know if you can really take it. Maybe he's just saying that. He was trying to do the right thing, the company thing. But that thing kept going on. Ben came back and said, I should have thrown all 4 passes to Juju. After a while, I guess he just kind of snapped. And he couldn't take it anymore, and it has worked out. Listen, Le'Veon Bell, I thought Pittsburgh sent a bad message when they didn't pay Le'Veon Bell, right? And then they have a problem with Antonio Brown, and the first thing they do is step up and say, we're going to extend Ben Roethlisberger. I was like, maybe that's not the time to be mentioning this when you just let when you had the issue with the other 2 guys, and you're calling the other guys 52 kids. So it's all just a bad situation in Pittsburgh. And I think what they're trying to do is say, let's just get rid of all of the bad situations and see if we can start this thing all back over new and move forward. So yeah, I'm surprised how well it worked out and what little Pittsburgh has gotten back for how much they have given up. They've given up one of the best running backs and one of the best wide receivers and got 2/3 in a 5th. That's incredible when you think about it in today's game.
Yeah, no rings and a $21 million cap hit, too.
And a $21 million cap. See, that's the thing people have to understand. This thing where when you have that much guaranteed money, that's why I always say nowadays it's a partnership with these players. You can't just cut them. You can't just release them. And if they force a trade like this, you're going to get pennies on your dollar. And that's exactly what Antonio Brown did. He made it such an issue that they had to trade him. And, yeah, Pittsburgh loses big time in this deal.
Michael Irvin here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are other Pro Bowl, All-Pro wide receivers with a few years left on their deal thinking today, Michael Irvin?
Well, I don't know that there'll be a whole lot of people. First of all, there was only one Antonio Brown. That there's only one Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins. So you can Odell Beckham. Those other guys that are below that, they should not try that kind of stuff. They should not try this kind of stuff. Antonio Brown, he's such a unique talent and such a gifted player, and all of those guys are. So what they're telling you is, hey, you guys got to treat us with some respect here. No more just acting like that the quarterbacks are basically throwing and catching the passes. No, they're throwing it and we're receiving it. So we're going to have to get some respect. But I think you'll see teams are better. Teams are smart about how they're handling players. They're giving those players that respect. I think it just went bad in Pittsburgh. Julio loves where he is. And DeAndre Hopkins, he loves where he is. And the owners, Arthur Blank, and all of those guys make sure they show those guys the respect that they deserve, and they don't have these problems. And obviously that was not the case in Pittsburgh.
So it seems, Michael, that this is the contractual equivalent of you telling those stories how Jimmy Johnson would treat players differently based on their abilities.
Well, exactly. Exactly. Listen, I was shocked, honestly, when Antonio Brown went on the interview and said, that he had never really sat with the owner. They don't talk to him. I was like, are you joking? Jerry, I conversations I've had with Jerry and everything. I mean, you just kind of think that's how it is everywhere, and it's not that way. And that affects people when you give that kind of service. Rich, you know what I liken this to? A horrible divorce. When you give yourself so much in a marriage, and then all of a sudden you break up. That's a ripping. That's a ripping. We always see it all the time in these celebrity divorces. Everybody's in the paper saying everything. Everybody's on the show saying everything about the next person because that's a ripping. They've been ripped apart, and all the bad stuff comes out. And Antonio Brown forced that divorce because all the bad things that were said to him while he was in the marriage. He forced himself out of the marriage and went right back to the altar and said, I got me a real pretty girl, and married her again. Right there today with a bigger contract. I mean, it's amazing to watch the power, and it is. Say what you will, Rich, and we love what we do, but that was the power of social media. That's what it does now.
Yeah, I asked that of Drew Rosenhaus before if he thought that if T.O. had social media back in the, I guess, sit up on the lawn days, that he'd have gotten the contracts that he wanted back in the day. And I'm wondering if you think that.
It would have worked. But now when T.O.'s doing his sit-ups in the driveway, he can spin his own narrative. When he was doing the sit-ups in the driveway, we everybody on TV spun the narrative. And the whole narrative was, is he crazy? This dude is crazy. What is he doing? Why is he out here doing sit-ups in the driveway? But if T.O.'s doing sit-ups in the driveway on his social media, said, I'm getting ready. Call me Big Chest or Big Chest, whatever Antonio Brown said. I'm getting ready for my next team. And he's talking in a bad way towards his old team. He's spinning the narrative, and everybody's listening to what he's saying. It's not just some news station or some TV station or even a radio interview that's picking and choosing what to play. He's getting to play what he wants to play all the time. It's amazing. It's amazing. I shudder to think about what it would have been if we would have had social media back in the day.
All right, so while we're spitting truth here, Michael Irvin, how much pressure does this put on Big Ben in Pittsburgh?
Big Ben, threw for more yards than anybody, last year. And he obviously wants to – that's what he wants. That's why he got rid of Todd Haley, because I guess they were all trying to control him. He wants to throw the ball, and he wants to be the leader, and now he'll get that opportunity. And I do believe it puts pressure on him to win football games now that both of those guys are gone. Both Le'Veon and Antonio Brown are gone, and he's there by himself. He is the true leader with those 52 boys or 52 kids. Just incidentally, that's kind of what I believe most African Americans heard too. When you say 52 kids, 52 boys, same thing to making that kind of a statement. And I think that did kind of lend some credence to what Antonio Brown was saying about what's going on in the organization. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this thing plays out on the football field. On the football field next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. With Cleveland coming up like they're coming up, Baltimore won the division last year. This is going to be interesting to see. And if they don't make a playoff next year again, there'll be some jobs. There'll be some jobs in jeopardy. in Pittsburgh.
Well, I do want to say this. Kevin Colbert, in his second time around at the Combine to explain what he meant by 52 kids, said he was just referring to the fact that Ben's been to the Super Bowl and he's the grown-up, and he actually uses the phrase kids and has even done so to the face of Marquise Pouncey and the rest of the guys in the locker room. So I do want to throw that out there at least to you.
Yeah, it all sounds good. I understand. I'm sure he has time after he heard everybody else thoughts about it, to go back and try to clean that up and change it up. But still, that was out there. That was a narrative. And it still does this thing that you never really see Tom Brady does. It separates the quarterback from the rest of the team. That's one thing Troy and guys like Tom never would say. They don't say, all right, guys, get behind me, I'm leading you. No, they say, guys, come with me, we're going together. And that's what separates the good from the great. That's what I think separates championships. And we talk about being won championships. We didn't hear Ben was not the main leader of those teams that won those Super Bowls. That was Jerome Bettis and Hines Ward and those guys. And Ben never called those guys out. He never called out those guys. So you know, for him to say that as if Ben led those teams when Ben was just a part of those teams, and I think that's what the guys are trying to say now. Can he become part of us? He can still be our leader, but as part of us, not as if he's out in front of us and above us all. That's the problem going on in Pittsburgh.
So a couple more minutes left with you, Irv. Juju Smith-Schuster without Antonio Brown. I know you love this kid. You were pounding the table for him when we were watching him work out at the Combine, all the way through, obviously, to his breakout seasons to start his career. Can he be as successful without Antonio Brown on the other side of the field, Michael?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can, Rich. Rich, you know I love this kid.
Yep.
And I love Juju. I don't care what I said it for the first day I saw him. When I hit the field at Combine, I said, he'll start out wherever he is as a number 2, but he'll grow into a number 1. He's been playing like a number 1 since he's gotten in the league. Now, there are pressures that come with being a number 1, but he has that mentality. He has that work ethic, and he certainly has the physical skill set and gifts. Pittsburgh has done a good job. I like the Washington kid that they have. I think he's a good player. And it's just a matter of now bringing him along without killing his confidence, but lifting him up, especially in his young stage right now. I think he'll do well. So, and Connor, they still have young talent. But if I'm Pittsburgh, if I'm owners, if I'm GM, I'm talking to Ben about his leadership style to make sure you don't mess up the young talent we have, because they've already seen, as you just talked about, Rich, they've seen an exodus plan. If things don't go right, they've already seen an exodus plan.
Yeah, Washington's only good if he runs through the route and doesn't just jump for the ball, right, Michael? I heard that somewhere. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly my point, man. So what if someone went on radio and said, "Now, Ben, next time you throw that, you gotta snap that ball off. You can't throw a sidearm. You gotta come. Don't tell me how to throw. Don't you tell me how to catch. You just make the throw, and I'll make the catch." But that's what we're talking about. It's just about leading each other. All of these kids, everybody in the NFL, are grown men. And you have to treat them as such. If you're asking guys to go out here and commit themselves and give all that they have, you got to treat them as a man, or you're going to have some of the situations that we've had in Pittsburgh.
And Antonio Brown, we're all assuming it's a good fit for Gruden and the offense, correct? With Carr, it's going to work.
I always say this, and people have been calling Antonio Brown all kind of dogs and everything. And I want dogs on my team. I want those beasts on my team, and I say, if you got a dog, and as long as you got the right people around him coaching that dog, and he knows how to feed him early, let him get his little puppy chow early, then he'll be biting for you. Now, if you don't feed him early, he'll be biting at you. A dog is a good thing to have as long as he's biting for you. You just got to make sure he's not biting at you, and you can handle that with your play calling and how you handle things. One time I went to Norv. We're getting ready to play a big game, and I was so hyped. I said, "No, come on, man, you got to get me the ball." Norv looked at me like, "What? I like my job too." He said, hey, what do you think? I'm stupid? I like my job. I want us to win. I'm gonna get you the ball early. Don't come. I said, okay, buddy. Just as long as we're on the same page. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. I just went on about my way, because he knows how to feed a dog. You want dogs on your team, and I'm sure Gruden he's happy he has one now.
I'm sure. And so while we're on story time, before I let you go, what's that story about Jimmy Johnson treating players differently you tell? What's that favorite one about Jimmy?
Jimmy always tell you, and I'll tell you this way. We had Thursday nights out. Thursday night was always the night we always go out, have dinner, hang out, drink as a team. And we would go out we went out one Thursday night. We came in late Friday for the 9 o'clock meeting. I walked in late with this clear. I walked in late. He walked in late. Jimmy looked at me with his little smack. He was hot, Rich. He was hot. He said, Michael, you're my leader. I'm disappointed. Get in the meeting. He turned to the other player. He said, you get out right now. He cut him on the spot. He walked in the meeting, and he explained to everybody, there's a difference. There's levels in this. If you play up here and you make a mistake, we're going to have to work through those mistakes. And I'm going to be more lenient to work through those mistakes with you. But if you're down here and you make them, I'll get rid of you immediately. Now let's get ready and go to practice. Everybody understands. In life, it's like that. If you're the top salesman and you're making $15 million, you're selling $15 million a year, they're going to work with you on some situations. If you're selling at about $100,000 a year, that might be different. Just comparatively speaking, they might not work with you. It's just business. That's what he was explaining to us.
And Michael Irvin finishes this interview by proving always be closing. Well done, Irv. Thanks for calling.
Always be closing. A, B, C. Isn't that what A-B says? That's what he's doing, isn't it?
He closed. A-B seed, man. I'll tell you that. A-B absolutely seed. There's no question about it. Unbelievable.
A-B always be closing. That's what he's been doing. I can't wait for next year, Rich. It's going to be interesting with all of this going on.
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting.
And free agents already in the frenzy. Love you, Irv. Be well. We'll chat soon.
Right. We'll be starting that up right now, too, right? You got to run over there and get that going. I'll be there. We got a show Wednesday on all of that.
Yeah, I'll be rolling there Wednesday. I'm sitting here Monday. We're going to do it from the Rich Eisen show, first hour of the free agency in about 20 minutes from now, as a matter of fact.
Right, that thing's cranking up. I'm waiting on it. I'm cranking up, baby.
Take
all
care.
Right, buddy.
All right,
appreciate it. I love you too, Rich.
There you go. That's Michael.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.